If you're the boss, we'll all quit.
James, who graduated as valedictorian from Harvard, stood before me with 20 other Harvard graduates and threw down his resignation letter. Since joining the company, James had always wanted to be assigned to the sales department, but he was placed in the accounting department, which I manage. This has evidently been a source of dissatisfaction for him. James seems to believe that he and the other Harvard graduates are indispensable to our company. Thank you. This really helps.
What do you mean?
I will accept your resignations. Don't worry, I'll pass them along to the other department heads as well. It's been short, but thanks for your efforts. James looked stunned. The new employees standing behind him began whispering anxiously. This was the result of their arrogance, clinging to the Harvard brand. My name is Michael, and I'm a 52-year-old chief accountant at a major trading company. I graduated from a national university in a regional area and joined this company. Time flies. It's already been 30 years since then. I got married 4 years after joining the company, and 2 years later, my son was born. Now, he's independent, and my wife and I lead a mediocre life that could be straight out of a picture book. My wife grew up in a wealthy family, which might explain her easygoing nature. Just being with her is comforting. Work at the company comes with its challenges, and every September is particularly tense, because that's when the new recruits join. I don't want to blame it on age, but I increasingly feel a gap between the younger generation and myself. Our company's prestige alone is enough to boast about at reunions, attracting highly educated newcomers each year. This notion of educational background is somewhat arbitrary. Having a high level of education doesn't necessarily mean one is excellent. Even among the elite newcomers who join with much fanfare, many can barely use a computer, causing endless troubles for us who are both their seniors and their supervisors. Many of my peers have become department heads, and sometimes we go out for drinks. Once the alcohol starts flowing, it turns into a session of complaints about subordinates.
The new recruit who just joined has such a poor attitude, and then he says, "I'm not good at answering phones," and doesn't even try to pick it up when it rings. Can you believe that?
I hear that a lot of young people these days are not comfortable with phone calls because they're used to communicating through messaging apps.
Back in the day, answering phones was considered a newbie's job. Now, even a slight remark like, "Can't you even do that?" can lead to various issues. It's become a difficult world to navigate. We usually end up wrapping up these griping sessions about our subordinates by the second round of drinks. We used to drink much later into the night when we were younger, but age is unbeatable. As you lose the stamina of youth, drinking too much can quickly make you feel unwell. Growing older is a sad affair. Moreover, for some reason, it often feels like older people are treated with less respect than the young. Just because someone is young, it's as if they've received a reward, and they tend to get cocky, which really irritates me. In sports too, the youngest players are overly praised. Is this a matter of our times, or has it always been this way? Women also try their best to look as young as possible, and being age ambiguous is often praised. There must be definite benefits that come with age, yet I cannot understand why aging is seen so negatively. The reason I'm feeling so frustrated is because there's a real troublemaker in the accounting department I manage. He joined the company 3 years ago and was assigned to the accounting department. His name is James, and he's a top-notch graduate from Harvard's Department of Economics. Having finished at the top of his class, James, with his impressive credentials, was somewhat of a hero when he first joined. Our company has hired Harvard graduates before, but the fact that we were able to recruit a valedictorian was a feather in the cap for Human Resources Department. I had been promoted to head of the accounting department the year before, and many in the department were younger members. I wouldn't say all, but most of the staff were enthusiastic and actively engaged in their work. Being young, they had stamina and managed to work long hours without showing signs of fatigue. I looked at my subordinates with a sense of pride and reliability. That's why, back then, I had no aversion to younger people. Just like everyone else, I had great expectations for James's youth. However, those expectations were greatly disappointed. I recognized that James was intellectually sharp. He was quick at calculations and could finish document preparation swiftly. When I praised him, he would flash a pleased smile.
I've been good at mental math since kindergarten. If you're taking time on such calculations, you're not cut out for the corporate world.
On its own, this statement might seem to prove James's competence. However, this task wasn't originally assigned to James. It was handled by another senior employee. But when they suddenly had to take on a different task, James was asked to step in. I had hoped he would continue to work diligently, but gradually, issues began to surface with his behavior. Even during work hours, he would casually check his smartphone or go chat with colleagues from other departments and not come back for a while. And when I addressed it, he sulked immediately.
Anyone could do this work, right? Please don't give me tasks that anyone else could handle.
So I'll ask you, what's the work that only you can do?
At least, the tasks in the accounting department aren't for me. I'm not suited to be glued to a desk in such a mundane department. That's why I hated being assigned to accounting.
James, ignoring his own unreasonableness, began to complain about not being placed in the department he desired. It seems he had wanted to be in the sales department, not accounting, and I had been troubled by his repeated transfer requests. James had also been told multiple times by higher ups to endure it and gain experience in accounting for a while. Each time, he would reluctantly comply, but he never showed any ambition to achieve results in the accounting department. Always discontented, he would do the bare minimum, which made it impossible for me to give him a positive evaluation as his boss. Honestly, I'd like to tie a ribbon around the useless James and send him off to the sales department.
When I go drinking with my peers, they make fun of me, saying I just do calculations all the time. I don't get out much, and it's embarrassing how pale I've become.
This is the kind of grumbling I hear from James, so I casually mentioned it to the head of the sales department. But they also said he wasn't needed there. There's another reason why James is so fixated on the sales department. It's because his colleague Mary, who joined the company at the same time, is excelling in the sales department. Mary, too, graduated from Harvard's Department of Economics, and they were neck and neck as the top students during their college days. Ultimately, James graduated at the top, leaving Mary with the second spot. But once she entered the workforce, she quickly began to show her true capabilities. The sales department is like the face of the company, so it's important to make a good impression on clients. In that regard, Mary has a very charming face and is adored by the older generation of our clientele. Some clients even reschedule their appointments just to meet with her. Not only does she look great, but her personality is also wonderful. She interacts with everyone sincerely, without pretense, so everyone looks forward to talking with her. Naturally, this makes it easy for her to close big deals. Among us department heads, the one who has Mary in their team is the envy of us all. While other departments have their share of Harvard graduates, they mostly stand out for their brand image, without much real contribution.
Mary is the only real talent among the Harvard grads at our company.
Just between us, I can't believe James was the valedictorian. I can see it with Mary, though.
Watching my colleagues tease James and Mary, I could only give a wry smile. If Mary is the top talent, then it's fair to say James is the worst dropout. The trouble of having James as a subordinate is never ending for me. That night, instead of going to the after party, I went alone to my favorite spot. It's a magic bar with an upscale, soothing atmosphere. While sipping on my drink, I enjoy the magic show unfolding before me, soaking in the elegance. Seeing the back of a woman with a short haircut already enjoying her drink, I naturally relaxed. When the woman turned around and noticed me, she waved. It was Mary, who had just been the topic of conversation.
Michael, taking it easy today, I see. I've been enjoying myself here already.
Actually, Mary and I often bump into each other at this magic bar. It's nothing suspicious, We both just happen to love magic, and it's a coincidence. This place became our hangout. Mary had dreamed of becoming a magician as a child, but turned to just enjoying it after her parents strongly opposed the idea. At the magic bar, I've had many conversations with Mary, and our friendship has deepened. One day, suddenly, James came walking towards my desk, leading a group of 20 young employees. On closer inspection, all the employees he had brought were Harvard graduates. What's all this commotion about?
Michael, when are you going to transfer me to the sales department?
That topic again? I have no intention of transferring you to sales. Get back to your desk now. Then, with a defiant look, James looked down on me and threw his resignation at my desk.
If you're the boss, we'll all quit.
To get his way, he had pulled together younger Harvard grads, intending to have them all submit their resignations. One by one, they threw their resignation letters onto my desk. James is under the misconception that they are indispensable to our company. Indeed, many of the Harvard grads hold important positions within the company, and if 20 of them resigned all at once, it would halt the company's operations. Now, the fate of our company seems to hinge on my single decision. I can't expose the company to a management crisis on my own whim. However, I was confident my idea was going to be a success. It's hard to believe that James has the ability to lead 20 Harvard graduates. In other words, not all 20 are united in support of James. Working at a company, everyone has their share of worries and frustrations to some extent, especially among the Harvard grads. Many expected undue privileges because they believed they were at the top in the S. But the world isn't so forgiving, and their futures were progressively downgraded. Imagine, amidst such dissatisfaction and impatience, if James had made an offer like this. For example, it might go something like this.
Don't you want to give a haughty boss like Michael a taste of his own medicine? Wouldn't you want to see us making him apologize?
That would be something to see, but there's no way our resignation would actually be accepted, right?
Don't worry about it. And we have credentials that are recognized not just in the US but globally. We have nothing to fear.
Probably this sort of exchange led to 20 Harvard grads gathering together. And it's tough for the other Harvard grads who got dragged into this. I can't help but feel sympathy. I remained silent in my chair, staring back at James. After a moment of staring, I suddenly changed my expression to a full smile. Thank you. This really helps.
What do you mean?
I will accept your resignations. Don't worry, I'll pass them along to the other department heads as well. It's been short, but thanks for your efforts. James was stunned, unable to grasp the situation. Internally, I wanted to burst out laughing, but I managed to maintain a kind smile. After all, as their boss, I was simply fulfilling their wishes. I took the resignation James threw at me and slipped it into my suit pocket. The new employees standing behind James began whispering to each other with agitated faces.
Hey, it really got accepted. Does this mean James is actually going to quit?
Does this mean I have to quit too, just because he is?
No one could answer their questions. It was clear that everyone thought this was a misunderstanding. They couldn't seriously be intending to resign. Probably, they thought they could use the threat of 20 Harvard graduates quitting to sway the company's policies in their favor. But now, with the resignation letters submitted as a bluff, they faced the real possibility of unemployment. This was the result of their arrogance, clinging to the Harvard brand. One of them raised a voice of blame at James.
This isn't what you said. You told us we wouldn't actually have to quit. That's why I came. I didn't plan to resign at all.
Michael, please give back the resignation letters we just submitted. I don't intend to quit either.
One by one, the Harvard grads began to turn against James. James looked increasingly flustered but continued to bluster.
This is just a bluff by Michael. He'd actually be in trouble if we all left.
You guys are mistaken if you think being a Harvard grad means you're good at your job. You've taught us that lesson well enough. Human resources will probably think twice before blindly hiring from Harvard now. All the Harvard graduates there looked at me with pale faces. My calm tone probably made it all the more terrifying. If anyone wants their resignation letter returned, line up here. I'll check each one and return them individually. All the Harvard graduates lined up at once. It was the moment James was completely defeated. Thus, the Harvard grads left, and only James remained. The other employees in the accounting department ignored him as if he wasn't there. Occasionally, some female employees would glance over uneasily. In the midst of this, James stamped his feet in frustration. As I had thought, he had almost no respect from anyone. I felt a bit sorry for him, but I knew showing mercy now would only stop him from reflecting on his actions. So I decided to make another attempt. And James, it seems you have a big problem.
What do you mean? I don't have any problems.
What about your relationship with Emma?
What?
James exclaimed in surprise. Emma had married the current head of the sales department 2 years ago. This meant that James was having an affair with a married woman. Of course, the head of sales was unaware of this fact. James's approach to Emma wasn't out of pure love, but rather because she was the wife of the head of sales. He must have been scheming to get information about the sales department, and possibly even trying to get Emma to suggest his transfer to her husband. You won't be able to keep this secret from the head of sales forever. If it comes out, you won't just be blocked from transferring to sales. You might be fired or sent to a branch office.
That would be a disaster. Do something, please.
Mary had told me about James's irresponsibility with women since their college days. While drinking at the Magic Bar, Mary would talk about James's character and his past actions.
Since college, he always targeted girls from wealthy families. I was a scholarship student, so he never paid attention to me, but my friends were deceived by his seemingly kind appearance and ended up hurt.
Is that so? Do you know if he's currently seeing anyone?
He's secretly seeing Emma from the accounting department, who, like you, works in the same department. He knows she's married, so it's definitely an affair.
Emma's husband, the head of the sales department, is 10 years younger than me and a very serious man. If he has a flaw, it's that he's too serious, making it hard for him to connect with women. But 2 years ago, at 40, he married Emma, who was my subordinate, and I thought they had built a happy home since then. Yet, James approached Emma purely out of ambition and intended to use her for his benefit. I trembled with anger at the thought. Around the same time, Emma came to me for advice and confessed to having an affair with James. James, young and promising, had pursued her, and she hadn't felt bad about it from the start. The thrill of keeping it a secret at work seemed to fuel her feelings even more. However, she gradually started to suspect she was being used. She began to doubt his intentions when James would ask about her husband's activities and internal issues within the sales department every time they met.
I regret doing such a foolish thing. I want to break up with James without my husband finding out.
I understand. Don't worry. I'll make sure he doesn't find out. Let's arrange a meeting with the three of us soon. One afternoon, I felt the time had come and called Emma to my desk, and then we went into the meeting room in the back with James. First, I asked James if he was serious about his love for Emma. James leaned back in his chair and started laughing.
There's no way I'm serious about an old lady like her. But when we go on dates, she takes me to fancy places and pays for everything. She's like a convenient ATM.
As expected, James didn't love Emma. As we continued talking, it also came out that James had borrowed money from Emma. If the head of the sales department finds out about your relationship, James, you won't get off easy. End your relationship immediately and promise to pay back the money you borrowed from her. I made James agree to return all the money to Emma that same day in exchange for not telling the head of the sales department.
I really was so foolish.
Emma covered her face and cried. Beside her, James remained sullen, showing no sign of remorse. For James, who had lived his life as an elite from a young age, this was the biggest crisis of his life. If he had decided to turn over a new leaf and declared his intention to work seriously, things might have turned out differently. but James remained confrontational with me until the end.
Are you seriously only accepting my resignation? Refusing the others, but taking mine? This is just harassment. You've always hated me, and now you're getting your revenge.
Even though he was the one who caused this situation, James shifted the blame and threatened to take the matter to the CEO.
The CEO won't let this slide, will he? After all, I'm a Harvard valedictorian. He wouldn't want to lose me.
I started to feel a bit of pity for James. How far is he deluded into thinking he's special? Finally, I decided to reveal a crucial fact. I have some unfortunate news for you. My wife is the CEO's only daughter, and I'm in line to be the next CEO. So even if you take this to her father, it won't make a difference.
What? You're the next CEO? No one ever mentioned that.
Those who needed to know were aware, but you've been too absorbed in your ambition. We kept it a secret from you to avoid any complications. Emma, who had been listening, had a satisfied expression.
Keeping Michael's identity a secret from you became a kind of amusement among the employees. Everyone would laugh behind your back saying, "James doesn't know anything. It serves you right."
What? You all set me up. What grudge do you have against me? I'm not the only one who wants to get ahead.
If you had approached your work diligently, your future might have been different. But you were insincere because you felt you didn't belong in this position. This is your comeuppance.
Emma was right. James, unable to find words to respond, looked down briefly, but then desperately began to plead with me.
Michael, I'll change my ways and work hard, so please give back my resignation. It was just a joke. As someone in a leadership position, you should be able to handle such jokes.
James, take responsibility for your actions. I didn't force you to submit your resignation, and you almost made other employees resign as well. Therefore, I will accept your resignation. And so, James ended up resigning from the company. The resignation scandal caused by James became a major topic within the company. Everyone accepted his resignation as inevitable. Having only been with the company for 3 years, he wasn't entitled to any severance pay. James, under the judgmental eyes of his colleagues, packed up his desk.
You'll see. You'll regret staying in this company.
Leaving behind those bitter words, James walked out. James's resignation also impacted other Harvard graduates working in different departments. He wasn't the only one who had submitted a resignation letter to me. Trying to resolve their grievances through threats was unacceptable. If such behavior were left unchecked, there would be a risk of similar incidents happening again. Each of the Harvard grads involved in the scandal was called in by the CEO to reaffirm their commitment to the company. Fearing termination over such a matter, they reportedly pleaded their cases fervently. Afterward, the young Harvard graduates became less assertive within the company, making it much easier for us in leadership positions. They are elites and will likely rise to leadership roles in the near future. It's important that they deeply reflect on this incident for their own futures. Emma, who had been having an affair with James, confessed the truth to her husband, prepared for the possibility of divorce. After many discussions, they ultimately decided to rebuild their marriage instead of divorcing. Recently, she has happily shared that they have rediscovered the good in each other and feel like they're in a second honeymoon phase. A little after the commotion, I experienced a shocking event. Mary announced that she was leaving the company. At our regular magic bar, she quietly said over drinks,
I enjoy my current job, but I don't want to give up on my dream. I've decided to live as a magician.
For Mary, her second-place graduation from Harvard was nothing but a chain binding her. Having received the best education, she had always been led to believe that she had to use her intellect to contribute to society. Her parents, of course, wanted her to follow the typical path to success. Then James caused the resignation uproar. It deeply shook Mary's heart. She gave a small laugh and said jokingly,
I started to feel like writing my resignation letter too.
I couldn't deny Mary's decision. With things as they were, I decided to support her quietly. After his resignation, James quickly started looking for a new job, but he was blacklisted by related companies, and no one would hire him. Still, carrying the Harvard valedictorian brand, he approached various startups and managed to join one of them. James tried his best to make me regret pushing him to resign. However, he caused similar problems wherever he went. Feeling increasingly dissatisfied with not being properly recognized, James decided to stop being an employee and took out loans to start his own business. But the business never took off, and he had no way to repay the debts. Although his parents helped him, the company he started quickly went bankrupt, and his life spiraled downhill. He was often seen gambling, walking around the neighborhood reeking of alcohol, even in the daytime. 7 years have passed since then, and now as the company's CEO, I am in Macau with my wife, combining work and pleasure. That night, Mary was set to perform as a magician on stage. I was filled with both excitement and nervousness as I waited for the show to start. Mary appeared on stage in a dazzling costume. She performed confidently, leaving the audience astonished, cheering, and applauding non-stop. Since becoming CEO, I've made it a point to always listen to others' opinions. My brother-in-law, who is the executive director, actively manages the company, while I often take on a supporting role, watching over him. I even asked him if it would be better if he became CEO and I became the executive director, but he preferred the current arrangement. This approach works best for us, making our work most efficient. Some lead glamorous lives, while others live behind the scenes, and everyone has their own path. A glamorous life comes with great hardships, and a behind-the-scenes life requires careful attention to harmony with others. From an outsider's perspective, Mary's life may seem glamorous, while mine might appear plain. Regardless of which path I choose, I want to ensure that I can look back and feel it was worth living. At 60, I still have much of life ahead. Moving forward, I will continue to value harmony with others and live earnestly.